and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here recording episode 193, and today we are talking about a topic we have discussed on and off the show for quite some time, but haven't actually talked about it. So today we are going to be talking about the Great Firewall of China. For those of you who don't know what that means, stay tuned. But the quick and dirty is it is the way that the internet is blocked in China by a Great Firewall. So we're going to talk about some websites you can and cannot access while you live in China. And I've got plenty of firsthand experience that we're going to be talking about today. All of the happiness and sadness associated with the Great Wall of China. So stay tuned. We're going to bring that to you. I'm curious to hear what my partner in crime has to say today. So without further ado, my good buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
What's up, dude? I'm curious about this happiness part of it. I don't understand how that could come in, but if
You'll
you say
find
so,
out. You'll find
I'll
out.
believe you. I'll believe you. For now, please spread a little love. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter. Spread a little love. Untranslatable 1, the number 1. I just retweeted today a picture of some guy named, I think, Science Mike or something that we follow. And he had a picture of the moon. Or excuse me, he had a picture of Pluto from 1994. And he had a picture of Pluto from 2018. And one looked like, times 1,000 zoom on a portable camera. And the other one, looked like you were like at it. It was amazing.
Right.
You can also please
Пожалуйста.
give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. We would highly appreciate it. We're an essential worker, and the least you could do is give us 5-star reviews. We're not
true.
essential workers. I don't want that to be
Essential
out there.
podcasters, though, I would say,
That's
Jared.
true.
I would
You
say
betcha.
that.
Yes, we are essential podcasters. People rely on us, and if we're not there, it gets scary in the world. I'm not gonna lie.
Where will they get their untranslatables? I mean, other than untranslatable.co, which is a fantastic website, shout out, but not quite the same as us translating the untranslatable for you live at your couch, desk, bed, or wherever you may be.
We love Untranslatable Co., but not everything can be explained in a meme. Okay, there I said it.
Whoa! Shots fired, Jared. Watch, I'm trying to get Amran's back on the show, Jared. Don't be giving her any bad blood. Do you see my glass though, buddy? I figured I would bring this out of the old cabinet.
Yeah, I do
it's hard
see
to
that.
see
Wow.
with the pink, but this is a glass Jared gifted me when Jared came back from Philly. It's got Ben Franklin on it. For those of you who don't know, he was not ever a president of the United States. Little fun fact.
Who said he was?
Some people think that. A lot of people think he was a president. He
I
was
mean,
not.
he's popular around that time, and he's one of the founding fathers, right?
Oh, for sure. Very important figure. But yeah. So yeah, happy to bust this bad boy out and stay hydrated.
Wow. Well, I love it. Man, this is the one time I'm not wearing a piece of clothing you gave me.
Yeah.
I was looking. I was like, all right. I know
where's the Jimi
give
Hendrix
some
shirt?
love
Where
back
is it?
somewhere in here.
Right.
But no, I've actually been wearing a lot of my own clothes recently, not to brag.
There you go.
So, how's your quarantine going, by the way?
I was just going to ask you the same thing. It's been going fantastic. I've been playing lots and lots of guitar. My fingers are actually holding up pretty well, so that's good. Trying to write some new music for the pod. I have a couple interesting jams in the works. So stay tuned, people, for that. I'm excited to be, writing music again and kind of fiddling around on my on the old garage band, and that's pretty much it, man. Nothing too exciting. What about you?
I'm getting to the point where I feel like I am going to the grocery store and doing like a large haul of groceries and being like, I have nothing to have for dinner. And I don't think it's nothing to have for dinner, but it's like, I need some variety in my life or something. I don't know. I need to go outside. But
I think the thing is, dude, it's just the repetition of eating at home all the time.
Yes.
It really is. Home cooked meals are amazing, but yeah.
It seems like a weird thing to complain about, but I do feel
That's
like
true.
it's like it goes in waves of like slight insanity to like, oh, this isn't that bad.
Right.
And I think I might be on an insanity stretch. Although I do recommended by my girlfriend. Our trip to Europe was supposed to be happening soon.
Yep.
But
what, in a couple weeks, right?
2 or 3
like a week and a
weeks,
half.
Right? A week and a half. It was the beginning of May. But that's not happening. Obviously, the flight got canceled, and so she did though say that even though we're not going, we should still take a vacation.
Are there any commercial flights out of the U.S. right now? And right now,
dude, I just saw something on Twitter today. I just saw a picture on Twitter today of a full flight,
Really?
Essentially full flight. And some people had masks on, some people didn't.
Everybody should be wearing masks. Just saying, putting that out there.
Flights are still happening, just not at a not nowhere close to the rate of before, obviously.
Right, gotcha.
But yeah, there are still flights, I believe. Hold on, I want to see. Now I'm curious. No, I have to turn off my ad blocker. It's not working. Flights are happening though. You know, I've been trying though. I don't really subscribe to that whole. I'm not going to look at coronavirus news because how is that even
just
possible?
not watch the news? Yeah, it's not doable.
But I am trying to look at it from different aspects. And something that I found on Reader's Digest. Have you heard of Reader's Digest?
I have. I used to get it as a kid all the time. Yeah,
I was about to say. I don't think I've actually seen one since 63.
1990. Yeah.
Anyway, but they still have a website. They still put articles out and stuff. And I found this one, and it was 12 past ways. 12 past epidemics. 12 ways past epidemics changed everyday life in America. So, we're thinking about all and it really got me thinking too. Because, I hear about people talking about like, oh, I'm never going to shake hands again. And after I looked through this list, I'm like, you probably are going to. Like I don't think stuff like that's going to go away. I don't think, I was interested. It was interesting to see how things have changed. For example, white tile and linoleum, that sort of fake tile-looking stuff, became popular in houses. The widespread acceptance of germ theory in the late 19th and 20th century resulted in the shift in interior design. So because of it was perceived to be easier to keep clean. And it was used in both hospitals and public homes. And before that, there were a lot of wooden floors, and it was just not considered to be as clean. And so they say that common sense dictates that it's easier to clean this stuff, and that it's easier to see clean spots too on lighter surfaces. So it's easier to see when it's clean versus dirty is another thing. So I found that interesting. Another one, because of tuberculosis, that's why that changed makeup trends. There was something in the mid 1800s called consumptive chic, and it was based off of the makeup women would put on to cover up their consumption, which is when your face starts to eat away at itself or something like that. I don't know.
I have no idea. I'm the wrong guy to ask about makeup, Jared. That's for sure.
Homes started being built with closets. If you've been inside any house, you notice always closets, blah, blah, blah.
Closets to me make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I feel like you need, especially if it's going to be used to keep say a spot for trash or something like that, especially in a house where you don't really have hygiene, many years ago. So yeah, some other ones are kind of sad. Immigrant screening became more thorough. I guess that's okay. Right. Oh, digging graves. That's where 6 feet deep came. 6 feet deep came from.
Really?
It came from. It came during an outbreak of some plague in the 1600s in England.
Fun fact, Jared. I think you know this one, and this is a bit dark, but I know in Vienna at least, where they call am Graben. They have a bunch of bodies buried right by the cathedral, Stephansdom, downtown Vienna, because way back in the day, this has got to be between the 14th to 16th or 17th century. They really believed that if you died especially of the plague, you needed to be buried as close to the church or cathedral as possible.
That seems like a terrible idea. I don't understand the logic behind that.
Well, that's not a logical thing. It's a spiritual thing.
That's true. One that caught my attention, though, was that second bathroom started being added to homes, which also makes sense.
Does that mean a poop bathroom?
A poop bathroom? I don't know if it's a poop bathroom.
Yeah, just one that's, one you just go number 2 in,
No,
It's not a thing? No.
No, because you want to be able to, because you want to, you want to be able to poop in both bathrooms. What if both people need to poop at the same time because of some
Good point, Jared. Good point.
outbreak of cholera?
Or terrible food.
When new homes were first designed to, let's see if it is a poop bathroom, maybe it is. When new homes were first designed to include indoor plumbing, there were typically one bathroom for the entire family located on the second floor of the house. Near the bedrooms. But as infectious diseases like tuberculosis and influenza became increasingly problematic, some homeowners decided to install a second half bathroom. Half bathroom.
Oh, half
That's the
bath.
bathroom
There we
without
go.
the
Just the toilet.
without the sink and without the bathtub is what I meant to say. Or
Bathtub
shower.
and shower, yeah.
Meaning that and so at this point, most homes had daily deliveries of coal and ice, meaning that the delivery people were not only entering your home but also your neighbors' homes, potentially bringing germs with them. The iceman is coming right into your kitchen, and if the iceman needs to use the bathroom, you don't want him to use your family bathroom. Right, explained. So the half
That's
bath
right.
made perfect sense for interesting.
Get out of here, Iceman.
Yeah. You
Don't be spreading your germs.
Here's the deal, though. We had I've lived in throughout my childhood and life. I've lived in multiple houses with half baths and full baths, and I use the half bath all the time. Because say if you're downstairs, I'm gonna walk all the way upstairs. I don't know. Granted, I never was really that concerned about tuberculosis. I bet you. This toilet paper scare will bring about. I wonder.
Do you
if
think
the toilet
bidets
paper
will be
scare,
more popular?
Not only bidets being more popular to be bought, because that's happening in the short term at least, but I think maybe more houses will be built with bidets already built in them.
Yeah,
so
could
not
be.
these sort of ones you connect to your toilet aftermarket style.
I
I'd
will
be
say
interested to
this,
see if
though,
we see more
Jared.
than that.
I will say this, though, based on personal experience, those Totoro Japanese toilets
Oh yeah.
with the heated seats and with the little jet stream that shoots up, fantastic. I think I told you my first week in Beijing, the hotel I stayed at had those toilets.
Yeah,
awesome.
And they're pretty common, aren't they? In Japan, at least, aren't
in
they?
Japan,
and Korea as
maybe?
well. I think
Could be.
like those high tech toilets are way more common.
Only the super swanky hotels in China that I was
Okay.
at for work had those.
I was under the impression that they're fairly common in Korea and Japan, at least. So did I tell you I have a bidet coming to my house? One of those aftermarket bidets coming.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Now we bought it literally a month ago almost, but they claim that they're on back order. That's why it's taking so long.
I wonder why.
And today is the 27th of April, and they claim that it'll get here by it'll ship out before the beginning of May. We'll see.
Okay.
We are getting low on toilet paper, just throwing it out there. A lot of poop talk so far. Did not expect this.
That's true.
And so I'm really hoping this thing comes quick, but I'm excited is really all I'm getting at. Vaccines were developed. That's obvious. Also affected facial hair trends for men. Tuberculosis. Yep. Did you shave, by the way? It looks like you shaved.
I trimmed it, yeah. Trimmed it up.
Yeah, I see that. Good, because the losis won't get you. The culosis won't get you.
What is that?
The tuberculosis. That's what like Rona. Losis. The losis.
Oh, jeez.
The losis didn't only affect women's beauty and fashion, also impacted men's grooming, like their beards. Around the turn of the century, beards were all the rage, but once doctors and the public better understood how germ theory worked and how infectious disease spread, beards became a major public health target. In 1901, having a beard was kind of like someone going out now without a face mask or something. It's like, what are you, an idiot?
Scandalous. Scandalous.
In 1901, William H. Park, a doctor at the New York Board of Health, banned milk delivery men from having beards, specifying that there is a real menace to the milk if the dairyman is bearded, because he may have tuberculosis and the dried sputum may accumulate on his beard and drop from it into the milk. That's disgusting.
Tasty. Anyway, should we spread some love?
Yeah, dude. Oh, shoot. What happened to my soundboard? Spread a little love.
There
for
we
some
go.
reason. I don't
There we go.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's illegal to give shout outs before the spread a little love drop, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, anyways, my first shout out goes out to the Belgian government. Jared, as we've talked about in probably more than one episode, it's difficult to find shout outs that aren't Rona related.
Sure.
And this one is Rona related, but I think it is a good shout out. So nonetheless, I think it's worth saying. And the Belgian government has pledged free face masks for everyone as a part of its COVID-19 lockdown exit strategy. I think this is
great.
a great idea.
Of course.
So every Belgian citizen will receive a free fabric face mask. I wish there was a different word for mask that started with an F so we can continue that alliteration of free fabric face fortitude. No, anyways. Free fabric face mask fortress as a part of the exit strategy from the country's coronavirus lockdown. So actually some of the first businesses to reopen will be haberdasheries, which is a store for what, Jared?
Hats.
For hats. And
Why
fabric
is that the
stores.
first place to open?
And fabric stores will be open. They will reopen on May 4th, while other businesses have to wait till May 11th. And I will say this, Jared, I have been seeing lots of advertisements online for companies in Michigan starting to reopen sometime in May, which is a good sign, but we need to be careful and we need to take precautions. And I think Belgium is doing a great job by doing this because, look, if you ensure every citizen has a mask, there is no excuse. There really isn't. Now, there will be people who won't wear it out of protest or what have you. I don't have a lot of kind words for those people, but at least the government in Belgium is trying to do something about it. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, you betcha. And I love that it's cloth masks too, because I've seen in maybe Spain, I believe it was, in subway systems they were handing out masks, but they were like the paper one, so they're not really reusable. And also, whenever I watched them handing them out, I'm like, I get that you're handing them out, and this is good, but most of these people don't like how do we these, but they're like handing them out all day to people, and so their hands are touching it and you put it on your face. It feels weird to me.
You might have the Rona on that.
Yeah, I was like, how do I know this mask is another Rona on it? Some people I saw didn't even have like gloves on or anything, but then I thought even if you had gloves, you're still going back and forth with people all day. And so it made me think. And so I was just like, is this? I don't want to put that on my face. I thought
that's the funny thing about gloves.
Makes sense. You could take it home and wash it.
Right. That's the funny thing about gloves, Jared, is I see so many people right now wearing gloves, and some people are like applauding people for wearing gloves. And it's like, if you're touching everything with those gloves, including your face and your eyes and your mouth, doesn't really matter whether or not you're wearing gloves.
I've seen funny pictures of like people smoking a cigarette with the gloves. Or like lifting up their mask to smoke a cigarette.
I've seen one of a guy lifting his mask to, he had his whole hand down a thing of crackers. He was in line at a grocery store eating crackers. Oh my God. Unreal. All right, I have one more shout out though, Jared. One more. And this is super awesome. And this goes out to two students from Florida State University who have created a map of kindness to spread positivity during the pandemic. So, in Tallahassee, Florida, two students at Florida State are sharing, positivity with a world negatively impacted by COVID-19. Students Gabby Cintron and Vanita Akula from FSU College of Medicine have created the website, and Google this for me, Jared, Kindness Amid the Coronavirus. I've taken a quick look at the site. I think it's absolutely fantastic. They had this idea to create a centralized location where we can start seeing more good news. So So I think this is awesome. I mean, this is kind of like what we try to do with shout outs here at the Untranslatable podcast, and they have just done it in a different way via a website. I think it's super awesome to see all of the stories of kindness and good things people are doing for one another around the world. It's super awesome. The one thing I will say, though, is I think there is definitely way more acts of kindness in North America and Europe. And South Africa. I think the reason for this is not that people in South America and other parts of Asia and Africa aren't doing kind things right now. I think it's because these tend to be where people are posting stuff. I think it would be cool to get something like this where they also had it so the website would be in Spanish, so we could cover South America. Also, French. There are a lot of African countries where French.
Now, hold on a second. Is this a website?
Yeah.
Oh, what's it called? Because it's not called Kindness Amid the Coronavirus, is it?
Yes. Kindness, literally kindness, amid-coronavirus.com. Mm-hmm.
I didn't put in the dash.
That's my bad. That's my fault.
Okay.
But
That's
it's really
a long
cool to see.
Amid dash the dash
Nope, no the. Just kindness-amid-coronavirus.com.
Because if you... Oh, okay. Yes, I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Yes. Well, also, I wonder... Well, this might be... I wonder if, like, people in China... Do they have access to this website?
Well, fun fact, Jared. Little teaser for later. There is a website that you can go to. Let me see if I can find the URL for you. CompareITtech.com. Okay, this is a long URL. I'm going to just copy paste this to you. But this is a way to test if a site is blocked in China. I didn't know about this before I left. I wish I would have known, just because then it would have, changed. There were even a couple websites. I don't remember specifically which, but there were a few websites I used to get teaching materials that loaded either very slowly or didn't really work very well in China. But I sent it to you, Jared. So test if any site is blocked in China and learn how to access it. And we will be talking about how to access it in a little bit. So stay tuned, people. But now, Jared, I think you know what time it is.
It's time for the Untranslatables, people.
That's right.
This is the owl. It's time for the Untranslatables. God damn it. Sorry.
You're a little feisty there today, Jared. Mind if I get us started?
Please.
All right. My first one is Danish for you, and it's Jeg har det som blommen I et egg, which means, do you know, Jared?
No.
I feel like an egg yolk.
See, that's interesting, because I thought Yeg might be I, but I'm like, I'm not even going to guess, because what do I know, my eggs feel like an eye yolk?
No, I feel like an egg yolk.
Oh, yeah, mine didn't make any sense. I feel like an egg yolk.
Mm-hmm. I feel like an egg yolk.
Like an egg yolk.
Jared...
Oh, is this like you're exhausted, or it's like I'm dead?
Nope.
Runny.
Nope.
I feel runny.
Nope. So, Jared...
Like an egg yolk.
We've been on quarantine for a while now, and some days are good, some days are bad. But, days when I really feel like an egg yolk is when I have my comfy robe on, I can listen to some good Jimi Hendrix, have a tasty meal. That's really when I feel like an egg yolk.
It's like you feel real chill, like relaxed, real, very calm.
You feel comfortable
Zen.
and fulfilled. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say some of those adjectives you gave us fall under that category, I would say.
Okay.
I'd give you a little baby ham horn.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out how to do a baby hand. I mean, I can make it kind of like not as loud, but that's not fun.
Oh, that's actually pretty funny. Just in the distance,
yeah, like one guy
right in the back, just his phone.
It's like a slow clap that doesn't get started.
Right.
My first untranslatable is Spanish, specifically from Argentina.
Argentina?
Argentina. Listen, I haven't been outside in a long time, people, okay? That's what I blame that on. Argentina. Atar con alambre. Do you know any of those words?
With. I mean, you know one of them. Is with. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
To tie with wire. To tie with wire.
Tie with wire. Is this a negative or a positive untranslatable?
It's neither.
Neither.
Although I will say, no, it's neither. It's an action more. But
Give me a clue. I have no idea where to begin with this one.
Let's say you and I went on our 20-mile bike ride, and inevitably within about 2 miles your BMX pops a tire. And you're like, oh man, I gotta walk this thing back. And I'm like, well, no, I have I have some stuff in my backpack. I think we can tie this with a wire.
Oh, you can just fix it up. You can solve a problem.
But
Make it work. Make do.
We
with
have.
What you got.
Did you know we have? What would you say in English? Like you don't really have the right tools, you know. But you can make
the best of what you got. No.
You're right. No, you're right. That is what it is. But I'm saying we have like a phrase for it.
What's our phrase?
To jerry rig. Have you heard of that?
Or MacGyver. Or MacGyver something.
Well, that's from a TV show.
But
did you know that there's also another one? Not instead of jerry rig, they
what is it?
Mostly people from
Jared
the South,
rig?
probably. No, they say N-word rig. That's a popular one too.
What? Really?
Yeah, you've never heard
That's a thing?
Yeah, dude.
Of course I'm not. Really?
Yeah, you need to get out more. Well, no, you don't. I guess you don't really. You're fine without that information.
Those are fighting words right now.
No, actually, yeah. It's good that you
Get
don't know
outside.
And if it's probably people, very mean people say that. That's you know.
Okay. Well, Jared, I figured since we are talking about China today, I would brush up on my terrible Chinese and give us some Chinese untranslatable.
Chad, it's not terrible. It's more mama hoo hoo.
That's true.
It's just so, by the way.
It is just so. All right, my first one is Chinese, as I said, and it is chu chu, which means eat vinegar.
Is it like
eat vinegar?
Like piss off?
Well, you're pissed off for a reason. So I'll give you.
No, is it telling someone to piss off? Is what I'm saying.
No.
Like saying, "Hey, get out of here." Eat
No,
vinegar.
So, for example, Jared.
Eat vinegar.
For example,
eat vinegar.
Maybe I come over to your house after things are better, and it's okay for me to come visit you. And for some reason, your lady and I are just having a nice conversation, but you perceive it as flirting, and then you start to eat some vinegar.
Oh, is it like to get jealous, but like
there we go.
Silently? Is it like silently jealous?
It doesn't specify, but it's just getting jealous in a relationship.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
It took everything in my power to just be like, just move on. You don't have to try to insult him back. Like I literally had to like. I was like, there's no reason to turn this into an insulting opportunity. My next untranslatable is Romanian, and it's Il Scocci din Pepini. Pepini. Il Scocci din Pepini. Take him out of his watermelons.
Is that like to take somebody out of their comfort zone?
No, but if
take
you did
you out of your watermelons, Jared, is that like to threaten somebody?
Yeah, but if you did take someone out of their comfort zone, it would probably take them out of their watermelons for them to be put in those uncomfortable situations. If you put someone in an uncomfortable situation, you would be taking them out of their water, like they would.
I'm so confused right now.
Yeah, see, that's a hard way to make that work. It's to drive someone nuts.
Oh, that makes sense.
I didn't know how to N-word rig that sentence to properly make that work.
Fair enough.
Speaking of N-word rigging things, how do you get into the? How do you get past the Great Firewall? No, that's a segue. No. What is the Great Firewall of China first? Can you just give an explainer of someone that experienced it?
So the fast, quick, and easy answer is the Great Firewall in China is basically the fact that many Western websites or non-Chinese websites are blocked or heavily censored or monitored or surveilled, if that's a word. I don't know if that's a word.
I think that is a word.
But yeah, so basically there are a lot of websites, common social media apps in the West that aren't available in China. So for example, when I was in China, if I tried to check the Untranslatable Instagram, couldn't get through. If I tried to go onto my Facebook account, couldn't get through. If I wanted to watch the newest, hippest song of the pod on the Untranslatable podcast playlist, song of the pod playlist, couldn't do it.
Hey,
because
Chad,
all that's blocked.
how about you WhatsApp me while you're over there in China?
So that's the weird thing, is WhatsApp occasionally messages will send through, but usually audio messages and photos will not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how does that work? So let me ask you this: when you send something on WhatsApp, would it take a weirdly long amount of time to send in comparison to just sending it normally here from the U.S. or something?
Of course, absolutely.
It's like oh, why did that take 30 seconds to send?
It would take
or something?
longer to send. Now I've heard a few different theories on why this is.
It's probably software, maybe. That's like reading it or something?
Exactly. So I've heard that certain things in China, it takes longer because the websites are being censored and monitored. The funny thing was that sometimes there will be websites that work, like when I got there in August, it worked no problem. And then come November, Trello, which is the site we use to help us with the podcast organization, some days it would work, some days it wouldn't work. Now, the quick and dirty, easy way around the Great Firewall.
So why is it that some work sometimes and sometimes they do and don't work?
Here's my
happening?
theory. I have two different theories on this, and these are just my own kind of crazy thoughts. These are not scientifically, empirically based findings. These are just my opinions.
This is
and thoughts.
lower than meme news, people.
This is random podcaster who lived in China for 6 months. But anyways, so I think there are two reasons why. Number one, it might be a website that there isn't a lot of traffic in China in general. Like I can't imagine how many people in China use Trello anyways. And then I think as more people start to use it there, then the government realizes it and then they start to monitor it, which slows it down. Now, the way to get around this, I think the whole reason why I wanted to do this episode was for anyone interested in traveling or working in China in the future, you need to be aware of this. I mean, most people that I know of these things before they go, but I've heard horror stories of Americans who get to China and didn't know about this beforehand, and then all the ways they used to communicate with their loved ones and friends and family back in the States or wherever they're from wouldn't work. Right. So the easy way around this but this is where it also gets tricky, is using a virtual private network or a VPN, which is just basically some software. You buy a subscription from a different website. There are tons of different companies that offer VPN services. And the way it works is it takes your IP address, pings it to their servers, which then disguises it. So websites and internet traffic, it looks like you're at a different place. So when I was in China,
country.
So when I was in China, for example,
hold on, slow down. You're really getting ahead of yourself, Chad.
Okay,
you slow down. Do you know when they started? Slow down. Do you know when they started regulating the internet? By the way, do you know when all this started? I do. By the way,
good.
I'm just
good. Well, so from what I've heard, the early 2000s, it was a lot more open. And then I've heard after I could be, and you know the date, but I thought it was after like 2005 or 2009. One of those, it got stricter. But maybe I'm way off.
No, you're right. So it started. It started in 1997. So you're probably right that it really started getting going in the early 2000s when internet in general really started getting going.
Right.
Wait, what was the other thing you said? Oh, yes, it did. I don't remember exactly the year, but I did remember reading somewhere that recently, within the past like 10 or 15 years, it's gotten, within the past 10 years or so, it's gotten significantly stricter.
Yeah. It's gotten
And that-
more shut off from the Western world.
So they have like they have like a department. Do you know how many people the government employs to do this? They have
Lots.
like
Lots and lots.
50,000 people
Yep.
to enforce.
I think they spend more on monitoring and censoring the internet over there than they do on their military budget. I could be wrong about that, but I thought I read that
Interesting.
somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how much military scuffle has China gotten into recently? You know, you don't hear.
China's really smart about that. I have to say they don't get in a lot of war conflicts like the U.S. does.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about. Well, no, I'm not even gonna go there. So yeah, they employ 50,000 people, which is crazy to me. I mean, that's like,
But that's a
like
minuscule
bigger than
number
like
in
a-
China.
That's bigger than like that's like the size of like a major company.
Yeah, but that's a tiny number in my opinion. If you look at how many people live in China, how many
Sure.
provinces and cities
How many
with over a million
websites
people
there are in the world,
Right.
and
Right.
how much activity
So
is
I think
happening.
that's
on
actually
the,
pretty impressive, to be honest.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I mean, yeah,
that's
it's
a good point.
Right. But see, that's the crazy thing about the Great Firewall, Jared, is that from what I've been told, they can throttle the VPNs. What I mean by this, Jared, is they can say, all right, well, this week we don't give a shit and we're not going to throttle the VPNs. And then they work fine. I had plenty of weeks where I could connect first try. The wheel on my VPN thing would go, and once it was in the green, it would connect.
So they
But
can
then
throttle VPNs, but they don't have the ability to fully block them.
Well, that's what I mean by throttle, though, Jared, is they can slow it down to the point where it doesn't work. And there were plenty of times where I just straight up couldn't connect. I had talked to a few friends of mine who had lived in China previously to ask them, well, how many VPNs should I have? Is one good enough? And most of my friends said, no, do not go to China with only one. Because if that VPN doesn't work, if the servers go down or something, you're basically SOL. So
They throttle specific VPNs.
Well, so that's the weird thing is certain VPNs it would work for me and certain ones wouldn't. So I had a small VPN that I used in the Czech Republic to watch, this sounds ridiculous, but to watch US sports events, right? So I couldn't watch any of my college basketball or college football unless I had a US IP address. So I just bought a VPN subscription from a company called IPVanish. It was pretty cheap, had decent reviews. So that's what I used while I was in the Czech Republic.
How much does a VPN cost? I don't mean to pry financial.
So
I have no idea how much.
Most subscriptions are about $100 a year, I think.
Okay. The only I've used VPNs a lot, but it's all been work. So it's not. So that's a little different.
Right.
$100 though, that's not nothing. And so
Right.
like when they say don't have just one, first of all, that's an investment already. Or it's like, all right, I understand, but like that's a lot of money.
$100, yeah.
And I assume there's like a bunch of them, right? There's got to be a bunch.
There's tons of them.
So-
there are some free ones. There are some ones that are Korean-based VPNs that I know of that people got when they were in China and their US VPNs weren't working. So yeah, there's lots of workarounds. And the crazy thing is too, though, is that China has built this huge infrastructure around blocking internet traffic and websites and things like this. The funny thing is, though, is that there are so many people who have figured out really good workarounds. Like Spotify isn't accessible in China, but you can buy a Spotify subscription on Taobao. You can buy a US Apple subscription on Taobao, which is tune into an episode from us way back when we talked about apps and stuff in China. Taobao is the biggest shopping app over there.
So that doesn't. But so the government allows that, or they just can't find it or something.
Well, no. So I'm not sure how all of it works, Jared. But the interesting thing about at least what I've experienced.
I don't even. This is.
So
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep up with all these.
Right. It's a lot.
Techniques.
Right. So the thing is with China that I've at least kind of seen and heard and experienced is that from what I know, the government tends to they'll enforce certain things when they need to. So it's not like consistently always doing stuff.
Everything is shut down.
Right.
Or everything that's off limits is just always shut down fully.
No, that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is that there can be stuff going on, and they might not enforce rule breaking for a while, and then all of a sudden they do. But then after a couple months they relax things again. So there are workarounds, is what I'm trying to say, and it's really. Go ahead.
Did you know that Winnie the Pooh was temporarily banned?
Yep. Oh yeah, there's been all sorts of stuff that have been banned in China. Winnie the Pooh.
Because they some blogger made like a Winnie the Pooh and Prime Minister Xi mashup, and they were like, "Oh no, we don't like that." So
but that's the thing about Chinese culture, Jared, is you do not criticize government officials. To be honest, it makes me uncomfortable
or like
a little bit talking,
because that's not really a criticism. That's just more like making fun of them.
Joking, right? Yeah, and that's the thing though. It's just Chinese culture. You don't do that over there. Whereas here, I think as Americans, it's in our blood to poke fun at our politicians, to make goofy political cartoons, to criticize our politicians, and so. There were a lot of times when I was in China, Jared, where people would say certain things, and I definitely had to hold my tongue, for sure. And the worst thing about this Great Firewall of China, I think, is the fact that there's a lot of good information out there that not everyone can easily access in China. So there's educational materials, there's books, there's a lot of different stuff that people just don't have access to. Now, some people like scholars and researchers might get special privileges and they might be able to access it. But I know even libraries in China, Jared, like a buddy of mine was telling me, he said, yeah, you know, when you go back to the States, this was before we knew there would be a pandemic, but he said, when you go back to the States in the summer, could I give you a list of books and could you bring them back? And I said, sure, no problem.
Dude, you're going to get arrested for smuggling books.
Right? But yeah, and the thing is, though, you know, I think most websites tend to, if they're Western websites, they won't be blocked if there's no ability to for anybody to go in and change stuff. So that's why Wikipedia is blocked in China, because you could very easily go in there and write a lot of negative things that are untrue. And so Wikipedia is blocked. Facebook is obviously blocked because, you know, people are Google. The only thing that's usable over there via Google is Google Translate, which was a lifesaver. Although I started to use WeChat Translate even more because it was even better based on my experience. Check out our WeChat episode if you're curious more about WeChat, because it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the best apps out there. Does it all. But anyways, so yeah, but I kind of had a weird change of perspective, Jared, while I was living over there for two reasons. Number one, I think I gained a newfound appreciation for even things like YouTube. You know, I didn't realize how much I cherish and learn from a lot of different YouTubers out there. I mean, a lot of it's music and guitar related and some language related as well. But the other thing I learned though too is,
do you have access to podcasts?
So I was able to get my Spotify to work because I have Spotify Premium, but I've been told that if you don't have Spotify Premium, and that's where I could listen to podcasts, but those also for some reason wouldn't always load. I don't know if it was an internet issue or what, or a censorship thing, but yeah. I mean, I know the Apple Store doesn't really work over there like it works in the States. Like, yeah, you can't find podcasts on there. So for those of you who go to China, if you don't have a VPN, which you should, but if you don't have a VPN, make sure you have already downloaded stuff you want to listen to.
Or does Podbean or something like that work? Like, do those sort of sites work?
I think Podbean worked, if I remember correctly. I think it did.
Because they might have access to stuff like that. I don't know. Listen, I'm just trying to help make sure they can hear us. That's what really matters here.
But yeah, so here's the other thing, though, Jared, that changed my perspective. I had a really awesome time when I met this Chinese guy. His English name is Alfred. And I met him in Harbin. Shout out to
Alfred.
Choice.
It's a weird choice.
Maybe somebody gave it to him. I know a lot
Batman fan.
I know a lot of people, Chinese people, who Americans or some Westerner gave them a foreign name and they just adopted it. Anyways,
Alfred was a rude choice.
I don't know. I think it's an okay name, but anyways,
that's like a butler. All I think of is a butler is when I hear Alfred.
That's fair. Anyways, so he was telling me we had a talk about it, and I said, because he lived in the U.S., so I said, well, what's it like? You know, you live in the U.S., you get used to all these things, then you come back to China, and he said, well, He said, to be honest, the whole thing about the Firewall of China is that, yes, a lot of Western sites are blocked, but there are Chinese equivalents to tons of them. And he's 100% right. I mean, the amount of different Chinese websites that have, kind of like Snapchat filters and stuff like that, there's lots of those.
Of course. I mean, people that make the technology are familiar with Snapchat and Instagram, and like they've experienced it. And I don't think not having Facebook, at least for Chinese people, or not having Instagram doesn't really matter, because in general, all of these people's friends are
on WeChat or Weibo
within the
or
country.
Something. Right.
And it's like, we have our own social media. So stuff like that.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously it sucks, like, because, there are plenty of people that want to have easy ways to contact people outside of the country and all that stuff. But sometimes I'm like, when people say like, oh, Facebook is blocked, how terrible. It's like, yeah, I don't like the idea of like blocking people from stuff like that. But it's like, I don't think Chinese people really look at it as they're on a whole, like they're missing out on anything. Right. Because I think maybe here we're just so like focused on our own culture. It's like, you guys don't have Instagram? It's like, yeah, but we don't. Yeah, believe it or not, we're not that interested in what Kim Kardashian is doing. Maybe they are. I don't know. But they probably are. Let's be honest.
Well, anyways, Jared, you mentioned though at the top of the show, I mentioned some positive things as well. I do think there are some positive things. Obviously, the very clear, obvious negative thing here is you don't have access to stuff, especially things if you want to contact friends and family back home. Yes, that sucks. Trust me, I've been there. I have gotten notifications on my phone, literally a message from somebody, and I can't respond to them because my VPN doesn't work. It's the worst feeling in the world.
But that's weird that you can get it, but you can't respond to it.
I know. It's crazy. But I think it also makes a difference because I got a U.S. Bought cell phone, which is also a whole different conversation. But anyways, so the positive thing though, Jared, is I think you do get to get more exposure to the Chinese equivalents of these things. I loved going on Youku and looking around to see what was on there. Another website I loved, and humor me, Jared, and Google this for me and see if it will work in the States. It's called Bilibili, BILIBILI.com. Bilibili. And I use this website to show videos to my English classes.
They use .com over there, not .cn?
Depends. Some websites use CN,
yeah,
some
Bilibili
use .com.
works, and now I'm being tracked too. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What is this? It looks like a splattering of
It's kind of like Chinese YouTube.
Oh, there's just a lot of anime on the homepage.
Yep. But they have like full episodes of The Office on there. They have guitar videos, all sorts of stuff, music videos. So it's kind of fun and exciting to learn about these Chinese equivalents to Western social media. Now, I will say I heard a story from my friend who was in Beijing in 2012 or 2013. I'm not going to say her name because she probably will be going back to China at some point and work again. But she was telling me that when she first got there, she had a Weibo account, and because she was on a special program, she was not allowed to have a VPN on her phone. Now, I don't know if they checked or what that was, but she was not allowed to have one. So she didn't have one. So she said that she was only dependent on Chinese social media. And she said for her, it was a great learning experience, a really good cultural learning experience. But the interesting thing was she said that whenever she wrote anything negative about her experiences in China, her post would be there, and then the next day she'd check, and sometimes it would be gone.
Oh, that's creepy. That's so creepy. So, I don't like that's like a chill.
I don't know. Now, I don't know if that still is a thing.
Takes Ambien and just did it. I thought
it could be
just ghost deleted.
But I've been told too that even on WeChat, if you write certain messages, we were told by the U.S. Embassy, be very careful what messages you spread on WeChat because it can all be very easily monitored.
I saw somewhere that now when you were on WeChat, did you ever stumble upon like blatant pro-government, pro-China posts or anything like that?
I'm going to tell you, I'm like 99.9% sure. I can't verify because I can't read Chinese characters.
Oh, that's a good point. But you see pictures and stuff.
I'm sure.
Well, you probably did because there's probably part of the 50,000 people. There's an army of or they get paid or something. I don't know. There's an army of social media influencers who, by one estimate, post 500 million pro-government comments a year. So they like employ people to specifically put out pro-government stuff.
It's funny you say that, Jared, because I got text messages every day from China. I think I had China
Every
Unicom.
day?
Every day I got a news update. And a few days I translated it, and then once I started to realize, I recognized which characters were like the alert for the news, I just wouldn't read those anymore. But yeah, because I would translate those into my Google Translate just to see what it was about. And a lot of times it was like pro-China, like, blah, 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 at this province did this great thing today and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Now the crazy...
I will say this, though. Just one more positive thing about it, though. I have a positive thing, too. I feel like it has to be great for the local economy because it forces them to have essentially their own tech industry. They're not reliant on the U.S. tech industry. They're not reliant on U.S. apps at all, really.
Right.
And so it is good for the economy, all the money and all the business happening on the apps are happening on Chinese apps through Chinese companies, and
right. I think
I
it
guess
is
that's
smart
good for them.
Yeah, business-wise, it's definitely smart. I will also say this though, too, Jared. I have never in my life spent so little time on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. So I think that's really, really great. And now just an interesting thing that I experienced, and I've talked to other expats in China that have experienced this as well, Jared, is that around big holidays, it seems that the Chinese, what is it called? Chinese Administration of Cyberspace, CAC, they tend to block or throttle VPNs even more during national holidays. There was like 3 or 4 days.
I bet you it also has something to do with the fact that that's probably also a time where they pump out more of the propaganda, for lack of a better word.
Could be. Yeah.
I have a question. When you were to maybe just on accident without thinking or something, attempt to go to a site that's blocked, like a Facebook, for example, what sort of messaging would you get? Would it just say like site doesn't exist or cannot?
Yeah, cannot be reached or whatever.
It just okay.
Yep.
And then you mentioned with one of your friends or something. You mentioned that she had a VPN on her phone. How does that work? So if you had a VPN that you bought, could you use it on both your phone and your computer, or do you have to buy two separate phone?
No. Usually,
it's like an account kind of thing.
Usually, the VPNs have like up to 5 devices where you can.
Okay.
So the way it works is you
could
download
use it on
the
your
app.
phone, for example.
Yeah. So you download the app and then you log in with your login info and you're good to go.
Sure.
And then you choose the server. Now, fun fact, Jared, when I was in China, the servers that worked best for me were servers in California, servers in South Korea, Japan, and oddly enough, Nuremberg, Germany. Those were the servers. Other servers wouldn't work. Like if I would try Chicago, it wouldn't work. It had to be like on the West Coast, which makes sense, I guess, because it's probably the distance. Now, Jared, you may be also wondering though, what kind of stuff gets blocked? We've mentioned Facebook, Instagram, a lot of the Western social media, but the Great Firewall of China is used also as a political tool. And I want to mention this because I want our listeners, especially any of those who do want to visit China or work in China, because I do think it's a great place. I highly recommend living there and working there. I'd love to go back when things get a little bit back to a semblance of normal. But there are some things that definitely get blocked for sure. The big...
Now I think about it, I imagine...
Do you have some guesses? What are your guesses,
yes, I would
Jared?
love to make guesses. I imagine CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, like American news, I imagine gets blocked.
Yes.
That would...
Sure. Yeah.
I imagine not even just America. Now that
Do you know what the
BBC,
3 T's are, Jared?
Guardian. The 3 T's.
3 T's, Jared. Taiwan, Tibet, and Tiananmen Square. So anything that's pro-Taiwan as pro-Taiwan as a country.
Hong Kong?
Also, that's blocked.
The 3 T's and the H.
Yep. Yeah. And Hong Kong, it's gotten even more so, I think, monitored and censored and blocked because
there's
of
all
what's
the protests
going on.
and stuff now, yeah.
Also Tibet, because China views these places as parts of China. Mainland China views Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Tibet as a part of China. Those places, what?
I didn't know that.
Yep.
About Tibet.
Yeah.
I knew about Taiwan.
So 1989 Tiananmen Square protests. anything that's remotely pornographic or obscene. I actually heard a story about expats who shared pornography in a WeChat group and they were deported out of the country. When you say anything negative about the government, anything pro-democracy in terms of like a Western democracy, anything related to the Hong Kong protests, anything anti-CCP, which is the China Communist Party. So yes. So yeah, and I mean,
I wonder if also like banking websites from different countries.
I mean,
would
my
imagine.
banking
Bank of
websites
America,
worked fine.
Chase. Oh,
Mine
really?
worked fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
But see, I don't have either of those. I don't have Bank of America or Chase. But yeah. But as you mentioned, though, Jared, although there is a control aspect, social control, especially from the Great Firewall, it is a way to protect trade a little bit. And China has grown their internet industry, tenfold, more than tenfold, with Tencent, which we've talked about a little bit. It's a huge multinational. It is a huge, multinational conglomerate holding company. Alibaba and Baidu. Baidu is kind of like the Chinese version of Google. So I think it's great. Now we've mentioned VPNs, which is one way to do it. Another way you can get around the Great Firewall would be using proxy servers. So you use an open proxy without using, also with using an encrypted tunnel to do that. Now, from my experience, a VPN to me seems the easiest to use and the most commonly used. So yeah.
Chad, while you were in China and allegedly using said VPNs to access various American websites, did you or allegedly or people you knew have any fear of getting caught, or what would happen if you got caught for using VPNs? Is that something that happens?
So
Should you be afraid of that?
From what I've been told, the worst case scenario is they might ask to see your phone, and then you have to delete the app on your phone. How
would they ask to see it?
They would. That's the thing.
Because how would you delete it? How are they asking you? Then how are you deleting it before they see it?
Well, I'm not really sure. I really,
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
I wasn't worried because I mean there are just so many people that use VPNs. I know so many of my Chinese colleagues used VPNs. A lot of businesses have to use VPNs if you have any Gmail account. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
I had to get an Outlook account when I went there just because we were told do not use Gmail because it's not going to work, and it won't. Same with I used to have all my stuff, all my teaching materials on Google Drive because it's easy to share, easy to download, easy to edit, all of that good stuff. Had to stop doing that because Google Drive wasn't always accessible. I
assume they offer some level of workaround or the government does or leeway for these international companies because it's like. I didn't even think about the fact that these people, you can't block everyone because you have international companies and a lot of giant companies around the world get most of their parts and stuff or just do production from China. So you do need to be able to have, afford some leeway. So I understand why on any sort of level, that idea of just a full sort of blocking of everything. Now, maybe you can do that with something like Facebook, for example, but like, You can't just do a full block of everything because there's so many different factors and stuff to take into account. It's like you can't fully just block everything. That doesn't really work.
Right. So yeah, to kind of recap the main segment, unless you have any other questions, Jared.
No. I have one question.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Do you think it works? Do you think this whole idea of the Great Firewall of China works? At least for what they are trying to do?
I think... I'm going to give it like a yes and a no. I think face value 100% it works for sure. But I think the bigger question to ask here, Jared, is
to what end? I feel like
and is it really blocking the things that you want your people to not be able to access? Because I think there's a lot of good out there that they aren't able to see as well because it's blocked. And I think it is worth mentioning that China does have by far the largest and most sophisticated online censorship operation by far. No questions asked.
I saw many lists and all of them put China at the top.
Oh yeah. for sure. I do think it's great, though, that China does have all the really awesome different Chinese social media apps and different stuff you can
They're
access.
not lacking.
Right.
Anything we have here, they have an equivalent to.
Exactly. But I think that in terms of academics, medicine, other things like that, like I said, I think some universities and some researchers, they get kind of special privileges. But, it's too bad that it has to come to that.
I wonder how sustainable it is. Where it's like you like I just don't understand how this can just go on like infinitely of just doing this just war against websites and constantly tracking and figuring, and it's just like I don't understand how it's sustainable.
Well, I think it's in terms of the party. I think they view it as something that's a worthwhile investment.
Well,
so I think in that regard, it is sustainable.
We can finish it with this. So I saw somewhere that they have sort of this a guy named Deng Xiaoping said this quote in the early 80s, and this is sort of what spurred on this movement later.
Right.
If you open the window, both fresh air and flies will be blown in. It's considered to be sort of the political ideology that they based this whole Great Firewall of China thing off of, where it's like we're protecting you. It's like, yeah, there's nice stuff out there, but there's way more. You're going to be affected. Way more BS that's going to be blown in. I feel like is what they're getting at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. And I think
not that I agree with that, but that's what they say.
Right. I would say as well. I think there are a lot of people in China who just don't care. Because they don't need this Western stuff, and I think that's what's difficult for a lot of us is we get over there. And I think the one golden nugget of advice I would give our listeners today, that's kind of common sense, but I think it's still worth mentioning, is that when you're in a different country, you just have to live by the way that they live over there. What I mean by that is, know what you're getting yourself into. I knew there would be days when I wouldn't be able to access a lot of my stuff. And for some people, if you can't live with that, just don't go. But for me, I think it's well worth experiencing the culture. I loved China. I would love to go back. It's an amazing country, wonderful people that I worked with. Yes, the internet and things being blocked is frustrating, but it also forces you to become a little bit more creative. And also explore some of these Chinese sites, which is pretty cool. You can come across some really cool stuff as well.
In a weird way, it's good for someone like you because it forces you to immerse in the culture more. Just because it's just easier for me to scroll through Billy than get up in a VPN and see if I can get a YouTube and wait for it to buffer and shit.
Oh, that's the worst. Trying to watch an episode on Netflix over there, forget it.
I can imagine.
But anyways, Jared. If you do have access to YouTube, check out our Song of the Pod playlist and especially our Song of the Pod this week, which is called Saudade by a Finnish lo-fi artist called Kupla. And I thought this was just untranslatable when I saw the name of the song and then when I learned more about the artist, because the song is the title is Portuguese, which is like a Portuguese term for like longing or missing or yearning for someone or something. And the artist is Finnish. And I don't know why, Jared, but I randomly had like a lo-fi suggestion come up in my Spotify the other day. And I've been listening to lo-fi music now before bed, and it's just fantastic. I love it.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you put it on like a sleep timer or something?
No. I just like listen to it like 20, 30 minutes before I go to bed. Just puts me in a chill mood. And this song is really something else.
There's no words too, so that kind of helps too.
Yep.
I wrote down on my note. In my notes the only thing I wrote in my notes about this song is some real laid back vibes.
Oh, for sure.
This is definitely a laid back vibes song.
Oh, 100%, without a doubt. It's got, I think, just the way the ornamentation is of the instruments. It'll really put you in a good mood, and it's absolutely fantastic.
You betcha.
Well, now it's time for my foreign word of the pod today, Jared. And my foreign word is Russian, and it is dostup, and dostup means access or lack thereof. I think the tricky thing about the Great Firewall of China is knowing what you can and cannot access. I'm here to tell you most Western social media, you're not going to be able to access anything Google related. Good luck. Probably will not work. There are Chinese equivalents. Baidu Maps is really good. And I would say if you are with someone who can read, write, or speak Chinese, use Baidu instead because it's updated more frequently when you're in China. So it's more accurate.
Better
it's better
if you can
exactly.
speak Chinese.
Exactly. But that's the cool thing about being able to access, I guess being forced to access the Chinese equivalents of Western social media is you can learn more about the culture, maybe learn how to read some characters and stuff. But I will say this, be prepared if you're going to China. It gets very frustrating, especially those times you can feel some serious disconnect when you can't contact your friends and family. I would say for those loved ones who you really want to stay in contact with, make sure you have either an email account that's not Gmail, or if you do have an iPhone, iMessage would still work, or WeChat. My parents both downloaded WeChat before I left, and that's how we communicated
and I
once
tried,
in a while.
And I messed it up, and I couldn't get into it. So you're telling me that if you don't have iMessage, really the only reliable way to chat as in instantaneously, not email, is WeChat? There's no option?
Yeah. I think it's just WeChat.
Wow.
I think.
I figure
if you don't have a VPN. If you don't have a VPN, so you're not accessing...
But that's annoying, you don't want to do that if you're just putting your phone down and messaging someone occasionally.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another way, and it
that
would
really
be email.
By the way, that's a huge plus sign, or like a huge selling point for iPhones in general. Yeah, is how convenient that makes iMessage already.
That's true. I mean, all my family has iPhones, and it definitely has made my life easier as I've traveled. For sure.
Yeah,
so I guess think about getting an iPhone before you go to China. If you,
I never thought twice about how we communicate because you're just like, you have an iMessage, you have iPhone, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, so keep that in mind if you plan on visiting or working in China. Highly
Skype
recommend
works.
working there. What?
Skype works.
Skype does work. That's a good point. Skype works, and Skype works fine.
So theoretically, you like the Skype app and message like that.
Anything Microsoft works fine in China. Anything Microsoft,
Microsoft on Skype? I did not know that.
Yep. Anything Microsoft will work. So keep that in mind, people. We hope this has been a helpful episode for you in case you were curious about the Great Firewall of China.
You betcha.
If you want to know more about my experiences with it and the frustrations and the positives, let us know at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Slide into our DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number 1, to send us some untranslatables, or if you want to give us any topics you'd like us to discuss. And lastly, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, 谢谢, and do svidaniya.